Hello, happy Thursday, and welcome to Gal Friday's Craft Room. Hopefully, you cannot hear the fan in the background. You may hear a little hum, and that's the fan. It's just really warm in here tonight. So, I decided to go a little vintage with tonight's cards, and the card stock and everything is so dark that the light is just horrible, even in my photos today. So I used the Stamped with Love stamp set, and I just love this old-fashioned post box. That's why I decided to go a little vintage. And I also used these flowers from the Dainty Delight stamp set and the dies. And I also pulled the dies out for the country wreath. And that's what I used behind this circle. Now tonight I will be using more than one glue dot, even though it's so warm in here. This ribbon is so heavy that they're just not staying on the cards. So I hope everybody's doing good. Just as a reminder, bonus days are ending the 31st of the month. That's where if you spend $50, you'll get a $5 coupon to spend in August. So just keep that in mind. All right. So I am going to work on this card first. And you have to just don't mind my fingers. I have been full of glue, I think, all week. It's been crazy. All right, let me just grab my bone folder. So we're starting with crumb cake, 8.5 by 5.5, and it's scored at 4.25. Hi, Margaret. How are you, honey? Okay. And what I'm going to give you all the dimensions first. So we got 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. Then, of course, I have to add my layers. And let me just grab my ruler here to make sure. So we have some Mossy Meadow, 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. This is the Let's Go Fishing Designer Series paper, 5 1/4 by 4. Then we have some crumb cake that is 3 3/8 by 1.5. And I have 3 of those. Then I have 3 Designer Series paper, and this is the it's to the horse and sleigh, but that's not what it's called. It is called One Horse Open Sleigh, and this is 1 3/8 by 3 1/4. Then I have a piece of crumb cake that is 5.5 by 1/2, and then DSP 5 3/8 by 3/8. And then, like I said, I die cut 2 of the wreaths from the country wreath dies. I punched out a very vanilla that is from a 2-inch punch. And then here are the flowers from the Dainty Delight dies. All right. And I'm just looking. I forgot to cut the paper for the inside. How crazy is that? Let me just get my paper here, and I'll do it real quick. Hopefully I did the element for the inside. My goodness. So, anything new and exciting? The heat here has been terrible. I'll have to update you on our vet appointment with Sheba. It was quite interesting, to say the least. All right. So now that we have all our pieces, I am going to grab, let's get it out here, my early espresso. I'm just going to move that out of the way. So we have some early espresso, and I'm using a Tim Holtz blender. Hey, everybody. That's okay. You can use your blending brush. You can use a dauber. I just happen to have this one that already has brown on the end. So I am just going to add some distressed brown to the edges of the card, just to give it that little bit of a vintage look. And that's why I only have the 2 cards tonight, because there's a lot going on these cards. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the Mossy Meadow and the rest of the pieces. So while I'm doing this, I could have done it ahead of time, but I figured this way we can chat for a little bit. But as some of you may know, Sheba is a Doberman. And when she had that incident where she was limping with growing pains, our vet had mentioned that sometimes it goes hand in hand with a blood disorder that Dobermans get, other dogs too, called von Willebrand. And that before we have her spayed, we should have her tested to see if she has this disease. And I think if you remember, I had done the cheek swab and sent it in, and the company went out of business. So I lost my money, never got the results. So then we had to have it done through our vet. And the test came back, and it comes back in percentages, something like 70 to 140% is they're fine. 50% is, I'm just trying to think what normal was, but Sheba is in the range, hers was 14%, and she is in the range of spontaneously bleeding. Hey, Cindy. Yeah, hot here in Pennsylvania. Whew. But yeah, so she is in the range of spontaneously bleeding. So our vet said, and the surgeons at the other surgeons that are in the vet's office all said it's too risky. They would not take the risk on spaying her. So they recommended we go to a surgeon that has blood and platelets on hand. And we had our appointment. She's very healthy otherwise. So we spoke to the surgeon, and she is scheduled to have her spaying in the beginning of August. But you just can't imagine what this is going to cost. I mean, my gosh, they have to be out of their minds. And I know vets are expensive, because just the consultation was $175. But she's a specialty surgeon. I know she'll be in good hands, and, there's going to be a risk, but no, it did not this time, Karen. But yes, I knew that was you, honey. So the operation with everything, because she needs to stay overnight and she has to be watched, and there's certain medications that she needs, is going to cost us between $4,000 and $5,000. I mean, how crazy is that? But what am I going to do? What am I going to do? All right, so we have everything distressed with the early espresso. Now we can add our layers, and I'm going to add my designer series paper, and that one's empty. I'm going to add the designer series paper to the mossy meadow. All right. And we get that on there. I just love this plaid. It's so pretty. All right, so now we can layer this up. And that's really all we need for that. And then we're going to grab these 3 layers, and we're going to adhere the designer series paper to the crumb cake. So these will be layered together. I'm going to just get them on here and then give them a minute to dry. So between doctors and vets, my goodness, it has been a crazy couple of years, for sure. So today, for the first time, and I was so excited, I saw a hummingbird outside. I haven't seen a hummingbird in years. It was so cute. So of course, once I saw it, because I haven't seen them, I ran in, and I have a hummingbird feeder. So I came in quick and fixed up some nectar and hung it out. So I'm hoping it comes back. All right, so you can see I added some dimensionals, and I am going to center this as best as I can onto the front of the card. And we're going to do that with all 3 layers. I wanted to put the center one in first, so when it comes to the outside ones, they go down a little bit easier, and it's easier to line them up. Let's get these off. All right. All right, so we're just going to layer this, try to get it on here straight. Then over here. All right, so there is the front of the card. Now, it's funny, my camera must be tilted a little bit because everything looks distorted. Do you, Margaret? This is the first, isn't that a crazy? This is the first time I have seen a hummingbird in so long. I was so excited because I just love the birds. I have a cardinal that I see every single day who is just beautiful, and calls to its mate. And I see that cardinal every single day. Yesterday, I saw a bald eagle, and it was so low, I mean, it felt as if I could touch it. All right, so I added the designer series paper to the crumb cake. And then we're going to add this to the front of the card, and it's going to fit right to the edges of this card. I'm just going to pull it up a little. Yes, Karen, it is a crazy amount of money. I should say, though, that with the spaying, where she was saying that dogs with big chests, there's so much space in there that they have a tendency to get that twisted stomach. So while she's in there, she is going to just attach her stomach in a way so it will not ever flip on us, where she's so high risk with this crazy von Willebrand. All right, so what I'm going to do is, we have this letter here, and I have this post box in the center. So I'm going to quick stamp these out before we finish the front of the card. So here's the post box, and I have early espresso, and I just want to make sure it is inked up, and we're going to add that here. All right. And then I have the letter with the pen attached, and I'm doing this now because I do have to run it through my cut and emboss machine. So I'm just going to ink this up, and I think I just got ink on my hands. And we're going to do one, and this is in Mossy Meadow, and then I'm going to do it again. All right. And I am going to quick grab my scissors. And while we're yapping, I'm just going to quick fussy cut these. I figured they were pretty quick and easy. This post box is actually going to go onto the inside of the card. Since I forgot the elements, we had a doctor's appointment today, and they did a ultrasound and a CT scan on Bill today, because we're trying to get him worked up for his liver. And I think I mentioned we got our appointment for October, and Bill is in so much pain. I called his primary care, and she said, before we let him go out into the community, let me talk to hepatology and see if I can't get him in sooner. And that was yesterday morning. Yesterday afternoon, hepatology called and said, we're so sorry, we have to cancel your appointment and reschedule. And I said, well, if you're going to reschedule it for after October, I don't want the appointment. So now we're seeing if we can go to community care. Oh, thank you, honey. All right, so while I'm gabbing away here, we're going to run out of time. I fussy cut the post box, and I fussy cut one of the letters. Give me a second. Let me just run this through. I'm going to run it through with the Time Worn type. Now you remember, with the logo, this is the front of the embossing folder, and I really want some of the words so it looks like a letter. So I'm just going to put that right there where those words are, and I'm just going to quick run this through. Oops. That was crazy. Let's see, is this the right one? Nope. There we go. Created the wrong sandwich. All right. So there you can see now it has some letters on it. So, all right. So I'm just going to take some of the Mossy Meadow, and you can see I have this lovely, disgusting sponge. Let me see if I have a different one. I want to get a green one. That's blue. Let's see. Here we go. That's green. And I'm just going to do the face so it just brings up some of the letters. And then I'm going to grab my blender and I'm just going to do the edges in the brown. Okay, so there's our letter. Now you can see on this card my pen and my stamp is popped up. So we're just going to grab this pen. Hopefully my water painter works because I forgot to bring water with me. I have some Calypso Coral. I had such a hard time with it today. Maybe it's this one. I had it soaking in water, and you know what? Let's do this. Just gonna pour a little bit of water out. Come on. There we go. All right, so this is Calypso Coral. And on this one, I am just going to add some Calypso Coral color. All right, that's all I wanted to do. And then I am going to quickly just cut out the pen. I know fussy cutting is boring, but when I used to be on my design teams before Stampin' Up, always had to fussy cut digital images. All right, so there's the pen. And then I also want to just cut out the stamp. All right, so now we have our stamp and our pen. The pen so I'm going to grab, let's do this one here. I'm just going to grab some little piece of dimensional. Okay. And we're going to lay it on this pen, just like that. And we're going to take the pen we just fussy cut and lay it on top. All right, so it just pops it up a little bit. Here we go. Now I'm going to get ink all over again. Just adding some around the edges of our stamp. And then I'm going to grab one of these mini dimensionals, and we're going to put it right there on top of that stamp. And we're going to pop the stamp up that we cut out. All right. Let's move that away, and we can move in our card. So like I said, I die cut the wreaths from the country wreath, and this was so bold, I decided to put this underneath the mossy meadow. So we're just going to add some glue. I see a little piece there. And then we're going to lay this down on the front of the card. And then I did cut one out in mossy meadow. And you saw that I already distressed the edges a little bit. So we need to pop all these pieces out. I would have had more done. I had the cards done yesterday, and then I was going to finish them up today. I did get the blog post done, so I can post that as soon as the video is done. So that's done. But, all right, so then we're going to take this one, and we are going to add some glue. And I'm just going to offset it a little bit so you can see the Calypso coral underneath. Okay. Let's get these out of the way. And while I'm thinking about it, so they have a minute to dry, I'm going to grab some iridescent pearls and my Calypso coral marker, and we're going to color 3 of these pearls. This way they'll be really dry when I'm ready for them. So we got 3, and then we're going to do 2 of the smaller ones. And I'm using the nib part of the blend because you'll notice that the tip of the brush end gets damaged. All right. So now that we have that, we are going to adhere this to the front of the card. And I'm actually going to put a dimensional on this side because of all the layers here. So let's just add a dimensional. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of glue up here so it attaches to the wreath. Make sure it is straight. All right, so there's our letter. Yep, that's for sure. And let's grab those little flowers. These are from Dainty Delight. And I'm going to grab a piece of scrap paper. That's not good. There we go. I'm just going to, and this is very vanilla, by the way. And I'm just going to grab a little dauber and the Calypso coral. And I'm just going to stamp a little darker in the center and then come out a little ways. All right. And then I am going to think I did green. We're going to grab that green and we're just going to go around the tips of these flowers with some mossy meadow. All the way around. All right, let's close this up. Now we can add these to the front of the card. And what I like to do beforehand is put them in my hand and just give them a little bit of dimension. It doesn't really stay that long, but it gives them just a tad of dimension, okay? And we're going to put them aside for a second and grab our circle, because we have to stamp our sentiment in Mossy Meadow, and it is the I like you. Let's see, here it is. So it says I like you, and we're going to do it in Mossy Meadow. So let's ink it up. Turn that over. Just going to stamp it right in the center. And I am this time going to grab my brush so it gets on the front of the card layer a little bit. So we're just going to come all the way around. And I don't care if it is on the front. See, and then I'm going to grab the one with the brown, and I'm just going to tap it to take some of the brightness away from the very vanilla. All right, bring our card back in. I'm going to add some glue, try to get some around the sides, and we're going to tuck it under our letter. Make sure it's straight. All right, so now our sentiment is there. Thank you, thank you. And now we can add our daisies. So I'm going to add one here, and we're going to just adhere it with some glue. And then we're going to put another one here. And again, adhere it with some glue. We want those to dry a little bit. The last one I am going to pop up with a dimensional. So I'm going to just grab a dimensional. Oops. We're going to put it right here in the center. Where it's such a big spot of ink, of glue, it takes a little bit to dry. So now we're going to grab our embellishments that we colored. And you see how they do get a little flat when you add the embellishments. And then we're going to grab these two. We're going to put them up in this corner. Make sure it's straight. All right, so there it is so far. Now I'm going to grab this beige ribbon. This comes in a pack with red, real red. And I should have looked to see what the name of it is, and I didn't. But we're going to take the ribbon and we're going to grab some Mossy Meadow, and we are going to add some color. See, I used one of these, but now that is brown. That's okay. So we're going to color this ribbon. This is green with a little brown. We just want to change the color. And this one we have to do on both sides. This is the great thing about our ribbon. We can always change the color. Right? Or any ribbon, actually. It doesn't, you can do it to any ribbon. All right, so now that it is changed, nice and messy, we can tie our bow. And of course, the bow is not dry, so my fingers are really full of ink. So let's just trim. Let's get rid of that. We can pull our card back in, and I am actually going to grab my, where are they? There they are. I have these glue dots that are really large. I'll show you. And I got it for these heavy ribbons. The glue dot is, if you can see how big it is a large glue dot. And I'm just going to stick that right there on the corner and add my ribbon. All right, so there is the front of our card. I'm just going to quick get my hands clean because that ribbon really messed up my fingers. All right, so now for the inside, I'm going to grab this blender. I am again going to distress the edges. I think this has a little bit of green on it now. Let's get, there we go, that's better. So we're just going to distress the edges. And we're going to do the same thing to the very vanilla. All right. And then I am going to grab my pecan pie. And my brush. Let's see if we can't get some water out of this. There we go. All right. So here's my post box. I am just going to add some water and then some darker color. So I want to just make it look stained. Do you remember using, I guess, tea bags when you were younger? And I don't really want to do the letter itself, but I am going to do these sections darker, the letter slot. So just trying to create an antique look. That's why I'm doing it. All right. Let me just clean this off so it doesn't ruin my ink pad. And now it's really, really wet. So I'm just going to add some glue. Make sure the glue is on the outside. I haven't really had any issue with the glue showing through on the very vanilla. And I'm just adding it to the inside. Grab our card. And then we can just add this to the inside. All right. So there is our first card. Thank you, Cindy. All right, so let's jump to the second card since that one seemed to have taken us a long time, right? So our second card, see my glue dots aren't, they're just not working tonight with these. Ribbons. I'm just going to quick grab a big one. All right, there we go. So now we have our second card. Just make some room here because I'm running out of room. So again, we're starting with an 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4, and I am going to distress everything. Like I said, probably should have done it before, but I didn't. Then we have a 5 3/8 by 4 1/8 piece of designer series paper. And this is One Horse Open Sleigh. And it's the wrong, the other side, I would say. Because here's the tree with the deer. So we're just going to distress it. Add some glue. And add it to the front of the card. All right, now we have another piece of crumb cake, and this one measures 5 by 3 3/4. And of course, we want to distress the edges. And then we have a layer that is 4 7/8 by 3 5/8. And this is the Let's Go Fishing Designer Series paper. And we're just going to distress the edges. And we are going to adhere these two layers together. And we're going to pop this up. Now this card, you'll see there's a ribbon here, but I covered it so much, I'm not going to put it on tonight's card. You can if you want. But I'm not going to do it on this card tonight. All right, so we're going to take this and lay it down on the front of our card. I have another crumb cake, 3 1/8 by 4 3/8. And we're going to add, and this is early espresso that I'm putting on the edges. And then I have another layer of very vanilla, and it is 3 by 4 1/4. And I am going to quick distress this edge, and I am going to run it through with the Time Worn type. Just really quick. All right, so now it's embossed, and I'm just going to very gently go over the edges. We're not going to see the whole layer, so I'm just doing the edge parts. And we're going to adhere this to our crumb cake layer. And then we're going to adhere the crumb cake layer to the front of the card. All right. All right, now I have to, let's see what I did here. I forgot to die cut my other frame. I thought I did too. Apparently I did not. So give me 1 second to quick die cut this frame. Some days it's like I'm losing my head. I've been so crazy busy. I haven't had time to breathe. Okay, so I have a Mossy Meadow scallop contour frame, and we're going to distress the edges yet again. And we are just going to take this layer and adhere it to the front of the card. So it's just lots of layers. All right, so there is the front of our card. Then I used the die from the Dainty Delight dies and cut out this vine. And I am just going to, again, we're just going to add some color all around. Most of this we're not even going to see. And we're just going to glue it to the front of the card. I'm not sure where these leaves are going to hit, if they're going to hit anything, but we're just going to lay this on the card. Oops. Just want to get this little bit of glue right here. once that dries. All right. Believe it or not, I did stamp and die cut these flowers that are also going to go on the front. But before we do anything, we need to grab our Calypso coral, and I am going to add some Calypso coral to the flowers, and I'm just quick adding color. Again, most of these flowers you're not even going to see, but just in case any of them are peeking through, they'll have some color on them. Oh, there's one here. All right. So we can close this up for a second. And we're going to grab some Mossy Meadow. I'm just going to grab, I don't know why I can't get water out of these all the time. Now I'm just going to add some color to the leaves. And again, like I said, most of this we're not even going to see. But just in case something peeks out. And we'll clean this out. I did do my post box. Woohoo! We're going to add some color. So there's our post box. So everything is getting distressed, okay? And I have one of the daisies, and then I have these little flowers from the Dainty Delight set. And I'm again going to grab some Calypso coral. Get the inside of this flower. I'm just going to do these really quickly. And grab that little sponge. I'm just going to do the outside of these flowers with the Mossy Meadow. Just adding a little bit of color. So this card you would send to someone very, very special because it's involved, you know. All right, let's grab those pearls, and I need one large, and I did two small, just so they have time to dry a little. All right, so we can pull our card back in. We're going to take these flowers, and I am just going to add some glue, and we're going to add this right to the back of the card. All right. We're going to take our post box, and we are going to pop up the post box. And I'm just going to put my dimensionals down the center so it catches that flower. All right, and I want it in this corner. I really want to just hide this here, so I'm going to put it right about there this time. And then we have our flowers. Let's put one here. We'll put one here. The daisy will wait. So I'm just going to poke the center and add that on. I'm going to let that dry. Let's get this one. Whoops. And again, poke the center. And we'll put it right here. And we'll just let that dry for a few minutes. I have a piece of Very Vanilla that I want to stamp Love You Always in Mossy Meadow. So I'm just going to stamp it right about here. Let's close this up a second. Nope, we'll leave it because I need it. All right, so I am just going to cut this off at the end of the sentiment, and then I'm going to cut off the corners. I'm going to grab, and we're just going to distress the edges. Let's see if I can't get this cleaned a little bit. All right. And then I am going to just, again, add some color to take away the brightness of the Very Vanilla. And then I'm going to curl it so it's up. And then I'm going to curl it so it's down. All right, so it has a little bit of a wave to it. Let's grab our card. We're going to add our glue to this section here. And we also want glue under here. So we're just going to take this and we're going to stick it up and under the mailbox. All right, right there on the bottom. And we may want to just pull it up a little bit because it's right on the edge of the card. So let's grab our, little ones. I'm going to put these in the center of these flowers. Let's grab that little daisy. And we're going to add that down here. And a pearl. All right, so pretty much that is the front of your card. Thanks, Karen. We're just going to grab this piece of paper again and cut some ribbon. Let's see if I can't get this. There we go. And we're going to color this ribbon. Inky night, huh? So, ladies, tomorrow, my Fun Fold Friday card. That's what I meant to mention. I have it all ready to go. The only problem is I forgot we have a cardiology appointment tomorrow at 10. We have our appointment at 10. So I will go live later on. I'm thinking the appointment's at 10. We probably won't get out of there until 11. So I'll say 1 o'clock tomorrow for Fun Fold Friday. This way I can make sure that we're really done, and I can check to make sure all the elements of the cards are there so I don't hold everybody up. And Sheba's been taken out and lunch has been made and all that good stuff. So 1 o'clock I'll go live. All right. I don't like the way this is poking up, so I am just going to grab a dimensional. I'm just going to stick it under this post box. There we go. And then we're going to grab one of those giant fat glue dots. Can you see? That's a nice big giant glue dot. And we're going to add it right here. Just like that. Now on this card, I cut the element, but I forgot to cut the layers. So, man, these just don't want to stay tonight. You would do 5 1/4 by 4, distress the edge of the crumb cake, 5 1/8 by 3 7/8, distress the edge of the very vanilla, and then I glued on a very vanilla vine on the inside. All right. I've taken up so much of your time. Thanks so much for listening to me ramble on. But here are tonight's cards. Whoops. See, these ribbons are so heavy that they just don't want to stay on. Or it's so hot that nothing is really sticking very well. And then here's the second one. Aw, thanks, Cindy. I appreciate it. Oh, that's true too. It's still wet from the ink. Thank you. You're right. All right, ladies. So thanks for joining. I'll see you tomorrow at 1. And thanks for listening to me. Sometimes it's nice just to say things out loud, gets it off your chest. You know what I'm saying? So thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow. If you'd like these make and takes, just spend $35 in my store and I'll send them to you in the mail as a thank you. So see you tomorrow for Fun Fold Friday and have a great rest of your night. Thanks, Cindy, so much. Good night.